Good evening and welcome back to the Audacity Podcast on tonight. Again, I am your host, Dawn Tillery. We're having a few technical difficulties, but I believe that we've gotten them all ironed out at this moment. So, again, welcome to the Audacity Podcast on tonight. This is where we have conversations boldly, authentically, and unapologetically. And I'm glad that you're listening to us on tonight, tomorrow, the next week, or month, whenever you're going to hear us. I am so elated that you are with us on tonight. And so, again, as I was stating earlier, June is National Cancer Survivors Month. And according to statistics, and of course, thanks to research, there are over 18.6 million people living in the U.S. with a history of cancer. And so on tonight, I wanted to take an opportunity to highlight this being National Cancer Survivors Month. And I'm excited about my guest that I have with me on tonight. And I want to lift her bio up here in your hearing. I have with me on tonight none other than Kimberly Nicholson, who is a MSW and LCSWA. She has spent 26 years as a social worker, and she still loves every bit of helping people. She's a breast cancer survivor, a mom to two amazing adults, a grandmother to four grandbabies who light up her world. She loves God, her family, her friends, church, and giving back. Whether that's serving as the youth leader at White Oak Baptist Church, teaching community college students, working with the public, providing resources in mental health, or serving with the Rocky Mount Junior Guild. Most mornings, you'll find her running at 5 or jogging at 5 a.m. with her soul sisters, laughing, praying, and starting the day strong. Not only is she a thriver, but she is thriving on tonight. Help me, if you will, welcome none other than Kimberly Nicholson to the Audacity Podcast on tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on tonight. And there is someone that has to hear what you have to say on tonight because we are having all types of things happening.
Definitely.
But what you have to say is going to go forth, and the person that needs to hear what she's going to share on tonight, you are going to hear what you need to hear on tonight. You're going to be healed. You're going to be delivered. You're going to receive some type of wisdom on tonight during this podcast in the name of Jesus.
Yes. Amen.
Because we are Christ believers here on this podcast, and we are going to talk about him on tonight. But before we get into our conversation, if you will, take a moment, hit the like and share button if you're on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, if you will, I would greatly appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button for me on tonight. And so we want to go ahead and jump into our conversation. As I stated earlier, I know I read your bio that you shared with me, but who is Kimberly Nicholson?
Wow. Well, I am from Enfield, North Carolina. Born and raised. Very close-knit community, family. I love my family, friends, church. Like you said, love helping and giving back. And that's just who I am. I love God, so that's me.
All right. All right. And so, as we stated earlier, this is, of course, National Cancer Survivors Month. You are a specifically breast cancer survivor.
Correct.
And so, can you share the moment with us that you received your diagnosis?
So, I was supposed to take a mammogram around November of 2023. And for some reason, I wasn't able to get it scheduled through the mobile bus. And I rescheduled that mammogram in May of 2024.
Okay.
And I knew that I needed to do it for some reason. I just felt like, you should get it every 6 months or every year, I believe, at that time. And so when I scheduled it out through the mobile bus around July of 2024, I received a call from UNC stating that my results were abnormal and I needed to come into the actual UNC mammogram center to have another one. And I did that, but not thinking that that was strange because they just said abnormal.
Right.
And so when I went in to have that done, it still appeared abnormal and I had to receive a biopsy. And so I received another call stating that I needed to come in and talk with the oncologist.
Right.
And that's what I did. I knew that there was something there
Right.
after that call. I didn't know exactly what it was, how bad it was or whatever, but I knew it was something there.
Right. 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 I even just a moment when they called me to come back, I went expecting, well, hey, maybe, it'll be a papilloma. I'd had one before, but I should have known something was up when she took me in the conference room,
Right.
the nurse navigator, and she shared with me, you have cancer.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, say that again.
Right.
Call my husband because he hadn't gone with me because I'm like, okay, well, I'll be
Right.
fine. Even though I had, like you said, I've gone through the ultrasound, gone through having a biopsy, going back for the results and still not really thinking or, like, oh, it's going to show up as anything.
Right.
And I went and found out. But what were some of the emotions that you experienced, like during that day, during the first days, weeks, months?
So when I was asked to come in to talk with the doctor, I really didn't want to tell my family about it. I didn't want to alarm them.
Right.
And so I went in alone. Because I needed to be able to understand it first.
Right.
And grasp what was going on. And so I went in to talk with the doctor. And like you said, she explained it was 6 centimeters in my right breast. And I needed to have surgery. And it all hit me like, what? I'm only 49.
Right.
Never had any health issues. No high blood pressure, none of those things.
Right.
Working out, eating the best I can. And all of a sudden, I have cancer.
Right.
I wasn't feeling bad.
Right.
Still going about doing whatever, working hard, helping, running, working out, not feeling any kind of pain. So I'm like, I didn't feel anything.
Right.
And so I was very scared, emotional, fearful, hurt. I felt ashamed.
Right.
Like something's wrong with me.
Right. Right.
How will I be able to tell my family, what's going to happen to me? All of those thoughts are running through my mind.
Right.
At that time.
Right.
Very emotional.
Right. Yeah, it is a very emotional time. And even what you just stated or shared, you are thinking in the back of your mind, cancer, am I going to make it through this?
Right.
What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my family? How do I share this?
Yes.
All of these different things start happening. It's like you go from I'm here, then I'm here, then I'm back here. It's kind of like an up and down thing that goes on when you initially get it, because it is a scary diagnosis.
Yes. And when the doctor said we need to do surgery, I then started to wonder, well, this is the summertime. Do I have to do it next week? Can we wait?
Right.
Can I have time to think about it? And then I went, and when I shared it with my family, especially the nurses that in my family or that I work out with, they all say, why are you waiting? Go ahead and have this thing done. Get that thing out of you is what they said.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let me go ahead. And I was ready, once I prayed about it.
Right.
God just sent this feeling of, I got you.
Right.
Like you pray all the time. You have this faith that you say that you have.
Right.
Now that you've been told that you have cancer, where is your faith?
Right.
Are you going to let this just bring you down? Are you going to continue to live? Are you going to believe that I can heal you?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's have this surgery.
Okay. So you talk about your family and your friends. So who else was in that tribe? Who was your tribe?
So I have a large tribe. And I knew it, but I realized it even more, when I found out I had cancer, starting from my adult children to my grandchildren, to everyone connected in my family, like my aunts. they're some of the strongest women, you know, in my family, to my church family, and then my source sisters, as you mentioned. You know, we get together pretty much 3 to 4 times a week, and we're out jogging at 5 o'clock, and before we start, we pray.
Okay.
And so when something's going on with one of us, we all pray for each other and we support each other.
Right.
And so when I saw all of that love amongst all of these people that, and you know, that was a part of me, I felt good about going through treatment. You know, a very close friend of mine was there with me from the beginning to the end. He prayed for me constantly, was always there with me through it, you know. And so I felt good about the support that I had then
Right.
and still do.
Right. And I asked that question because, you know, sometimes for those that have gone through cancer, or you had a family member or a friend that has gone through cancer, it's important to have that tribe.
Yes.
And tribe is nothing more than a support system. And sometimes that tribe can look different.
Yes.
Like you may have family members, and some people even coming into the Bay for treatment, they don't really have family per se.
Mm-hmm.
The staff at the cancer center may be their tribe, or the social worker may be a part of their tribe, or a neighbor or someone. You know, everybody's situation is different, but I found out it is very important to have that tribe there with you, because when you're hearing you have cancer and you're going back and forth to the doctors, you got to have somebody that can hear what you can't hear.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, and you mentioned the cancer center. You know, I remember finding out before I started, I reached out to Ms. Wiggins, our cancer coordinator, for a support group. And I was like, I have cancer and I have to have surgery and treatment. And she said to me, like, so what? You're going to survive this.
Right.
The treatment is amazing and outstanding right now. The support is great. You're going to get through this.
Right.
She said that to me. And I felt like even better about like working with UNC and going through this treatment and just going into UNC week after week. The staff, the nurses, the doctors, the oncologists, they're just amazing.
Right.
They're so warm and comforting, you know. So I'm like, wow, who knew you would be treated so warm,
right,
with a diagnosis like this?
Right, exactly.
They're very passionate about what they do.
They are. And while we're there, we want to give a shout out to UNC Nash Cancer Care, because you're right. The staff over there rock.
Yes.
When I first started my treatment, the oncologist that was there, he ended up leaving, my oncologist that I had, but he did see me, Dr. Manicum, through my whole treatment, but he ended up moving to another hospital. But the staff over there, and he had talked to me, he's like, well, you know, you can do your treatment here, or if you want to go to another hospital. But he told me, you know, he was in constant contact with UNC and the different research and things that were going on. And so I made a decision like you. I stayed here and took my treatments here in Rocky Mount, and they rock.
Yes,
they rock. They rock. Even when my hair started growing back out and I was still wearing the wig, then the nurses threatened me over there. They said, if you come in here one more time with your wig on, we gonna get you.
Yes.
And so they, along with my sisters, provoked me to go ahead and take that wig off my head. And so I was glad to take a wig off too, because during the summer it was horrible. So I'm getting totally off what we talking.
That's okay. You know, and you know what, that was a thought that came across my mind when I found out that I was diagnosed. I'm like, am I going to lose my hair? You know,
right.
Badly to think like, is that all you care about? But, you know, we start thinking about how we're going to look, you know, those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, because we care about how we look. So,
right.
Yeah.
And that's a significant point that you brought out, because when our hair comes out, when mine came out completely, it was, I had a hard time. Because our hair, not that I idolize my hair, but our hair is a part of our identity.
Yes.
And like you said, we care about how we look. And I think sometimes people are insensitive because they'll say, oh, well, you still got your life, but it's
Right.
not about me just still having my life. All of me is,
You're right.
we're dealing with all of us. And that's something that, Miss Delphine, she'll bring out during our support group meeting as well. When the eyelashes come off, the eyebrows come off, all of these different things,
Right.
we care about how we look. And that takes you through, that's like another whole psychological piece to go
Right.
along with your treatment.
Yeah. And another piece that goes along when people say, well, you don't look like you have cancer or that you've been diagnosed or been through treatment, those kind of things that you say to people.
Right.
You have to kind of be careful about, because that person is still dealing with it emotionally,
Right.
physically, mentally, so just be a support.
Mm-hmm.
And be careful what you say or how you say things about people. We have to deal with the weight gain and the aching joints.
Right.
People can't see those kind of things, like the aching joints in the morning time,
Right.
the hot sweats at night because of your hormones, like, the brain fog that we have.
Right.
Sometimes we can remember things and sometimes we can't.
Right.
Like somebody's name when we see them in the store and we're just waving. But they can remember your name, and we kind of feel bad about that. But yeah, we go through a lot, and we smile and keep on thriving.
Exactly.
You have to.
You have to. You have to. And that's a good point that you brought out, because even in the midst of, we're talking about thriving beyond cancer on tonight, that a lot of times once you complete your treatment, everybody, oh, you finished your treatment, everything's good.
Yes.
But a lot of times you don't hear about the after effects of the treatment.
Yes.
Yeah, I may look good and on the outside everything looks good, but still the effects of the treatment, even though treatment comes to, to heal, to make us better, there's some after effects to the treatment that we don't feel until months or years later.
That is so true. We have medication that we have to take for at least 5-6 years, maintenance. And with that comes all types of emotions. Sometimes you might wake up in the morning, you're crying, you're wondering, why am I crying? It could be because you're just thankful you're still here.
Yes.
You're thinking about what you've gone through and how far you come, or you just hurting right now.
Right.
You're like wondering why is my legs aching when I stand up? Those kind of things. Like, this wasn't going on last year. Am I okay?
Right.
Did the cancer come back?
Did it come back? Yes.
And studies show people constantly wondering about whether the cancer is going to come back.
Right.
And that's one thing we learn in our support group.
Right.
Is getting through and not worrying about the cancer coming back.
Right.
Living healthy, eating better, relaxing, enjoying life, taking it day by day.
Right. Right. That's that thriving part, taking it day by day and living life.
Yes. Yes.
Living life, laugh, cry, do whatever you need to do. But once you finish crying, get back up and start
keep
living
on
again.
moving.
Keep on moving. We got to keep it moving. So with your treatment, what did treatment look like for you?
So I was blessed with the opportunity, and I say blessed because my oncologist talked to me about a clinical trial, and it was either that or, of course, chemo. So this is like an alternative to chemo. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I've heard about clinical trials, but I didn't really know what it looked like and what it meant. But I knew clinical, I didn't like that word.
Right.
So I was like, well, no, I'll just do chemo. And she explained it a little bit more, broke it down like kindergarten style to me. And she said, well, you can go to Chapel Hill and talk with the oncologist there. They're the ones that provide the clinical trial.
Okay.
Just look into it, do some research, and make a decision. So I felt like she really wanted me to learn more about it.
Right.
Knowledge is power. When you don't know, then you make decisions based off stuff you don't know about.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll go to UNC and I'll talk to them. And my daughter went with me to one of my appointments to find out about it. I came back home with all of the information to read up on it, to do research, it was a 2-year clinical trial. So there wasn't a lot of statistics about how successful it was.
Right.
And so talked with my sister-in-law, is a nurse, and she went back with me to talk with the doctors, and she had more questions than I had
Right.
about it. But I prayed about it,
Mhm.
and I was okay with it. And I said, I want to do this.
Right.
It just, God laid it on my heart. This is the route to go. And so we went back and we told the doctor, still asked our questions, and I decided to do the clinical trial. And what that meant was every 3 weeks for 1 year,
Mhm.
I had to go to Chapel Hill to receive an infusion in my left and right thigh. They rotated for a year.
Okay.
And there was a clinical coordinator who followed me to make sure I was doing everything that I was supposed to, as far as taking medication,
Right.
checking on my health, my wellness. And then I also had to do the radiation for about 20 rounds of radiation in between.
Okay. So the clinical, and we know as a people what our history is as far as clinicals
Mhm.
and tests. How do you feel about the fact that you did, go through the clinical?
I was happy that I did choose that because I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me doing this clinical trial, for
Right.
one. And so to be able to be part of a study that will help others along the way,
Mhm.
especially African Americans,
Right.
I wanted to be a part of that.
Right.
Whether it helps me or not, obviously I want it to help me, but I won't know until years later. But it will help somebody else.
Right.
And to be given that opportunity, I was very thankful for that.
Amen. And then, as of course, outside of your tribe that you had, that you talked to, and they could help bring insight, you prayed about it,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
felt the release that this is what I need to do.
Yes. Throughout this journey, and even now, God puts a peace in you, like,
Mhm.
this is what you need to do.
Right.
There's no questions. You pray about it, you leave it alone,
Mhm.
and you get the answer.
Right.
And it's been like that from the time I found out until now.
Right.
Even now, you still got to pray about it because
Mhm.
you're still going through something every now and then.
Right.
You're not feeling your best some days,
Yeah.
but you got to get up and go.
Right.
But you also have to rest and give yourself grace, which I am learning.
Right.
And you have to say no, which I have a
Say
very
no.
hard time doing that. But that's a whole nother podcast.
I think that was one of the things that I learned during my journey. Um, Learn how to say no. No is a complete sentence. No is a 2-letter word, and no, maybe for this season, it might be
Right.
no. It might be yes later,
That's
but for
right.
right now, it's no. But I had to get comfortable with saying no
That's right.
and be all right with it, even if somebody was upset with,
Yes. Yes.
because like you said, even in all of this, we had to learn how to rest.
Yes.
As women, we love to do, we do all the time. And then we just got to learn how to say, bring it to a pause and,
Yes.
keep it moving.
That's right.
But as you were talking about the clinical and in asking you that, I remember thinking, when I was diagnosed, my oncologist had shared with me that 10 years prior to my diagnosis, that the type of cancer that I was diagnosed with, women were dying from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought about, and I become emotional thinking about it. There were women that actually went through clinical trials.
Yes.
And he shared that with me. There were women who went through clinical trials to see what would work so they would be able to have the treatment that I receive now.
Yes.
Even though there's some things I still, side effects from the treatment,
Right.
but I'm still here.
That's right. Yeah, the advancement of medication now is so much better and great compared to back in the 60s and
Yes.
70s. When you
Yes.
heard cancer back then, you just felt like you're not going to survive it.
Right.
But now,
Yeah.
more people are surviving it.
Mhm.
If you get that mammogram, if you catch it early,
Right.
if you do your treatment, those things.
Right.
So it's out there. the treatment is out there.
Right. Yes, ma'am. It is. It is. So earlier, and I read it in your bio, you run with your Source Sisters.
Yes.
And you were talking about that earlier.
Mhm.
So was there any time during your treatment that you weren't able to run?
Yes, definitely. And, you know, I talk about mental health because I am a strong believer of mental health and therapy. You know, there's nothing wrong with therapy.
Right.
Running, jogging is my therapy, part of it.
Okay.
So when I couldn't do that, you know, that did something to me as well.
Right.
So we were training for a half marathon, the group that I run with.
Okay.
And it had been a while because of COVID and all that. Prior to COVID, I was blessed to be able to do the Chicago Marathon. And so I was like,
that's awesome.
through COVID, we all were thrown off a little bit. And so we
Right.
was getting back in shape. We were going to do training for our half. And I think we were about at 6 weeks at up to 6 miles running nonstop.
Oh, wow.
That's how far we were in our training. And when I found out about my diagnosis,
Okay.
and then I had the surgery in August, the marathon was going to be in October.
Mhm.
And so I had to stop training.
Right.
And of course, I had to stop working out altogether. I was on medical leave for about 2-3 weeks.
Mhm.
I begged my doctor to let me go back to work because I'm like, I can't sit home and do nothing. If I
Right.
can't go work out, I need to go to work and do something. And she laughed at me because she was like, I've never seen anybody like you want to go back to work.
Right.
But she cleared me probably about 6 weeks after my surgery.
Okay.
And she said, you can go back to the gym and work out. And of course, I was back out there
Right.
going to the gym, started back running, jogging a little bit slowly. And I signed up for a 5K around October, November. And I was able to do it. I hurt a little bit
Right.
afterwards,
Okay.
especially where the procedure was done, but it was okay. You know, she said I was cleared to do it. And, you know, since then I've started back slower.
Right.
Still haven't been able to do a half, but, you know, we do 5Ks all the time, the group, and we just get out there and jog or walk, but we pray, we laugh, we joke.
Right.
And that's my, you know, that helps me through the day. Like most people say, I can't get up at 5 o'clock. Well, I don't like to work out in the afternoon.
Yeah.
When I get off, I am lazy. Like I want to go home.
Right.
But that keeps me going. Never thought that I would be a jogger. I waited
Right.
till I was almost 40 years old to do it.
Mhm.
But yeah, that helps my mental health.
Right. Okay. So you couldn't run. So you said the mental health piece is important. So you were journaling,
Yes.
doing that type of thing when you couldn't do the actual physical.
Yes. Reading books, several books. Of course, I read your book, chapter 49. Awesome book. I
Thank you.
also read another book about living with cancer and beyond. You know, that was very helpful.
Right.
Binge watching a little bit of Netflix, something that I didn't have time to do.
Right.
Some good movies though, like I call it Hallmark movies. You know,
Mhm.
that's my favorite. So doing some of that and just relaxing.
Right. Right. And I wanted to bring that out because, you know, a lot of times, you know, when this is one thing we can't do,
Mm-hmm.
then there's some other things that we can do for our self-care.
Yes.
You know, when things change in our life and maybe for the moment I can't, like you said, you couldn't run, but you found some other things to do to keep your mentals intact.
Yes.
And we're living in such a time now, and I know we're talking about thriving beyond cancer, but there's so many things that are happening now that are coming at our minds. It's like you're bombarded with the news, you're bombarded with your own personal things that are going on.
Mhm.
You got to take that time out to take care of your mentals. And I'm looking
Yes.
directly in the camera. Take care of your mentals. Take care of your mind. Take care of your mental state, your emotional state, your spiritual state. Find a place, like you said,
Yes.
relax,
Yes.
binge watch Netflix, journal, whatever it is you need to do, but take care of your
Mhm.
mentals.
And if you need counseling, you know,
Yes.
I was in therapy for a little while, and that was one of the best things I could have done for myself through my transition.
Right.
And you know, if I need it again, I will go back to therapy, you know. So church is always great, God,
Right.
praying, but sometimes you need a therapist to help you
Right.
through what you're going through in life.
Right. So then it's okay to have church and it's okay to have a therapist.
Yes.
Because sometimes there's some things that we guys got to get out.
Yes. Yes.
Some things we just got to get out of us. We got to share.
Yes.
Now
That's
that
right.
God can't handle it all, but sometimes you got to have somebody.
Right.
help you talk
God
it through.
uses people, tools to
Right.
help you through. Like I mentioned on one of my posts, social workers need social workers too.
Right.
So I have a lot of people who have helped me along the way that are social workers, and and that's what therapists are. So a lot of people are suffering in silence.
Right.
Whether they're dealing with cancer or some other medical condition.
Right.
Or just loss. A lot of people are dealing with grieving,
Yeah.
those kind of things. So there's nothing wrong with therapy.
Right. Right. So what did you learn about yourself and God during that season?
Well, definitely I became closer to God, of course, like I talked about my faith, my fear, and, God, why should I fear anything? Like I got God on my side.
Right.
He's going to protect me and keep me safe. He said he would. I have to believe that he would.
Mm-hmm.
So I just became closer, made sure I was back in church, not just on social media watching church from home, those kind of things. I need to be in the presence
Right.
of my church family.
Right.
We're so close at my church. We got amazing pastor. The word, I felt like I could get it better in person.
Right.
But definitely became closer to God. Definitely.
Right. And you had said earlier, you spoke about fear, us not having fear of anything if we are, we're walking with God. And I remember I used to fear even saying the word cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day the Lord said to me, he said, don't I have power over cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Cancer has to bow to me.
Right.
And so I'm not afraid to say that word anymore, because I used to be afraid to actually even say it.
Me too.
Because again, the stigma, and we've had family members that passed away from cancer.
Correct.
And the treatment wasn't as far along as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just to hear the word cancer is like a dreaded word. A lot of people I didn't share it with. They might have shared it with some
Right.
people, but I knew who I had told on my two hands.
Yes.
Because of the fact of, the stigma that comes along with it. And you're trying to, when you were sharing earlier, we're trying to battle in our own minds and wrap our minds around, I actually have cancer.
Yes. And I did. I kind of shared it with my immediate family, close friends, those that I felt safe with. And, I started meeting people who were sharing their stories like you, some other people along the way that had been diagnosed, sharing their story. And I saw how it helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, maybe I can help somebody else by sharing my story, because they obviously, if I don't share it, they'll have no idea that what I've gone through and that I'm surviving and I'm thriving,
Right.
So that made me share it with others publicly, because I'm kind of a secret, quiet person. I kind of like to keep my personal business to myself,
Right.
other than my close family. But I realized I needed to share it to help somebody else, because somebody helped me.
Right. So how has cancer changed the way that you view life?
Wow. Every day is precious. Day by day, I wake up in the morning, I do my spiritual devotion. I get on my knees and I pray. Like I said, we may go to the gym, we may go work out. I go to work. But I don't let small things get to me.
Right.
I don't do the drama.
Mm-hmm.
We all stress about some things,
right?
But I don't let things stress me out to the point of I can't handle it. Like if it's that big, I need to just give it to God and leave it alone.
Right.
Things that I can control, I control it. If I can't control it, I don't.
Right.
Like what your children do, what your coworkers do, your job, those kind of things. You can't control that.
Right.
And so you can't let that worry you, because you've gone through
Yeah.
cancer, you know, like, wow,
Right.
you have another chance. Like, what do God have for me?
Right.
And that's what I'm looking at. Like, I know he got so much more for me to do in my future.
Right.
So I'm just praying and waiting and looking to see what that is. And that's what life is about now.
Right.
Like, what's the next step? What can I do to help somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is my calling?
Right.
Have I reached it? Or I know I haven't. You know, do I want to step out there? But, you know, those kind of things. But living day by day, enjoying life. People say that I'm always doing something. Yes, I am,
Right.
because I want to enjoy life. You know, I want to do things that I never did before, like our bucket list kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, do those things
Mhm.
as long as it's safe.
Right. Right. So many people celebrate surviving cancer. What would you say to someone who is learning how to live after cancer? What would you say to them to encourage them now?
I would say, first of all, focus on your goals. What is it that you want to achieve right now? Whether that's getting through the treatment
Mm-hmm.
day by day, have your support system in place,
Okay.
whoever or whatever that looks like. Like you said, it could be the cancer center, it could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be your children, whatever that is.
Right.
Enjoy life.
Right.
This is not a death sentence. You don't have to stop living. So continue to live life to the best of your ability with whatever limitations you may have.
Right.
If that means traveling, travel. If that means staying at home and get some rest, rest. If it means telling someone no because you can't do something, tell them no.
Right.
You know, so ask questions about treatment options, supports that's out there, but most of all, become part of a support system,
Right.
a support group like we did, because to see those ladies in that group every month, and to see some of them they are survivors of 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think one lady 15 years.
Right.
To someone who was just diagnosed,
Right.
and just to see the smiles on each person's face when we come together and laugh and dance and do art and whatever we do, just talk and cry and laugh together, just to see that
Right.
survivorship, it helps me when I leave there. I look forward to it every month. So
Right.
find what you need, whatever that looks like.
Right. Right. Okay, so you all heard it on tonight. There may be someone out there, you are a survivor, you're a new survivor. You heard it tonight. Find what your focus is. Do your research.
Yes.
Find you a support system. Make sure that you have your support system. Relax. If you need to take therapy, if you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. It's not going to hurt you. If anything, it's going to help you. It's going to enhance your life. And so, anything else you want to share before we close on tonight? Any other encouraging word you would like to share before we close on tonight?
Just thank you again for this opportunity. I will say that, you know, I am blessed. Never thought that I would ever be diagnosed with cancer, you know, at a young age, I feel. But why not? Why not me?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So there's going to be others along the way.
Right.
And we are here to support you if
Right.
you're going through cancer or treatment or beyond. You know, you have to reach out to people. That's what we want to do.
Right.
And that is one of the reasons I came on your
Right.
podcast tonight as well. You know, if I can help someone along the way, I want to
Right.
do that.
Right. Right.
So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for the wisdom that you shared on tonight. I can say probably even thank you for those that are listening, because what you shared tonight was it was fruitful. It was abundant wisdom that if we listen and heed, and that even the power of the Lord, the power of God was on your words even as you were speaking. And so I know that someone, whether you're listening now, whether you're going to listen later, you are going to be blessed by what you heard on tonight. Again, thank you for coming on the podcast. We are thriving after cancer. Cancer is not a death sentence, as she said earlier. And I really want to emphasize that cancer is not a death sentence. God still has you here. You are here to live. And as we get ready to close out, I just want to remind you all to have the audacity to make it a great day.